Oh, what's Pikachu and stuff?
That's my
doing?
Super Smash Brothers a background.
Yeah, it is.
There's us. Frankie McDonald and Frylock and TC Rastani.
And TC. Does TC ever talk to you when we're gone?
What?
At the end of the night?
No.
What?
I've never talked to TC.
You gotta mix another pink drink.
Unknown.
Yeah, nobody wants you to know their number, Slim. Rob and Slim Show.
Hey, how you doing, guys? It's Sam from Team Left Jab.
Sam from Team Left
going on,
Jab. How
Sam?
are you doing?
What's going on? How you guys doing tonight?
We're doing good. We're doing our show.
Oh, a little drunk, Sam.
Yeah,
it's 9:30. You got the drunk
drunk slot. You are the owner of the Team Left Jab United Radio Network.
Absolutely. Yeah, I started it as strictly boxing. It was just like a simple podcast where I would just have fighters on to do interviews and stuff, because most people really, I don't know if it's outside of sports, but they really didn't want to do written articles or written interviews. So that's really why I started it. And then, after doing it for a few years and doing so many interviews, strictly boxing, it kind of got a little boring. And, it's like, how many times can you, basically do the same interview just with different people? And that's when I started to really just branch out and started, doing my other interests, which is, other sports and a little bit of comedy here and there, and even more in the future, hopefully. But it's fun. I enjoy doing it.
Dude, I just love just us coming across each other. Like, when you first followed me on Twitter, and I was like, "Do you guys have comedy shows? Like, what do you guys do?" Like, and you just said, "Yeah, no, we'll put you on." Like, I was like, "Cool."
Well, the whole thing is, like, I was looking for a while because I did. Now, I'm not going to mention him, but I was doing a comedy, kind of like a collaboration with a guy who did comedy for a long time, and he just didn't want to do it really for himself, let alone do it with other people. He was canceling shows left and right, and I would have him on, and he was just a little too politically correct, although he was supposed to be a lunatic. Maybe that's a little hint for some people. But and, I was trying to do, like, midget jokes with him, and then, like, right in the middle of it, he just stopped and was like, "Oh, come on, there's people too." And right then and there, I knew this wasn't the kind of guy that I really wanted to do this kind of comedy thing with.
Yeah.
And then that's when I found you guys, because I was looking on Twitter, and I was like, there has to be people out here that
don't give a shit.
That's still just fucking jerks.
I want to do this, and I finally found, the Rob and Slim Show and Slambo. My guy Slambo over there.
Sometimes Slambo.
He's John Wilkes Booth today.
Yeah, we only referred to him as JJWB.
and I got really annoyed with myself because I was like, man, I wish I found these guys years ago. But it took a little while, but I found you guys. And you guys are awesome, man. I'm a big Howard Stern, Don Imus guy from back in the day, and you guys are like our last hope. Nobody else does a show like you guys are doing.
That's what I've been told by so many people, and at first I'm like, maybe they're blowing smoke in my ass, but I've heard it so many times, I'm like, I gotta believe it. And I always thought too, like, as far as like our show goes, like, there's nobody that gives the amount or interviews or, like, time to do that.
There's nobody doing a show like you guys are doing with the amount of different aspects of it. In other words, you guys do skits, you do calls, prank calls, you do songs, you do interviews.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot of work. There's nobody that's really going to do that. And on top of that, you're not politically correct. You're not watching every word you say.
Yeah.
There's nobody that at least that I see.
I don't feel like
that.
You could
and you guys are definitely, the top show out there doing it, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you, dude.
Thank you.
I don't try to offend anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody's feeling, but I also don't want to dumb down, like, what's funny or that type of shit. Like, I feel like that, like, I mentioned my kids before, like, I don't raise them to be, like, I do in some aspects. I'm like, that's, you can't lump, when they say, that's gay. You can't associate that to hitting, that, or to bashing like that. But at the same time, I don't want I don't want to, discourage comedy.
Right.
Like, it's such a fine line.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was gonna say exactly. I mean, it never was, directed at gay people.
Yes.
I mean, when you think about it, gay just means stupid. Retarded means just fucked up.
Yes.
I mean, these people have come around. This, I guess, current generation, whatever you want to call them, have come around to basically just, come up with new meanings for everything. As if we're all supposed to adjust now. What we've always thought and what we've always said for 40 years or 30 years or whatever. Now we got to do it their way because they're here now. Well, fuck that.
And
I'm not going to change
too,
the way I thought.
Right.
They could change their way of thinking, but I'm not going to do that.
One of my best friends from work is a gay guy, and one time he just and everybody's mouth dropped. He's like, "Oh, Rob's such a faggot." Isn't he? I was like, "Yeah, bro." I was giving him a high five. I was so happy. I'm like, "That's
cool.
the utmost honor," and everyone else was like, "Oh my god, cool, should we report this?"
But yeah, even just like me, growing up in the early 90s, early 2000s, you used to just call your buddies fags, when they did something stupid. You were like, "You fucking fag."
The movies we grew up on, Clerks too. Oh my god, yeah, no,
dude.
fuck.
If you think about it, think about it. I mean, I'm sure you guys listened to Stern and Imus, at points growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, when you thought about it, I mean, you really didn't get bullied if you had that kind of mentality.
Yes.
When I was in high school, nobody bullied with me. I'm not nothing physically, imposing, but I mean, I had an arsenal, ready for these people, jokes and making fun of them and stuff like that.
Yes,
And
you had it in your mind.
Fuck, let me move on.
You outwitted them.
People are so soft.
Yeah.
The people are so soft now. They're just looking to be enraged and insulted and stuff like that. It's a bunch of Marys. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I want to ask you, Sam.
I could never be like that.
I want to ask you, Sam. Just the title of the network, the Left Jab. I don't know where you got that from, but I always remember my late friend Tino back in the day telling me, and he was one of the toughest guys you'd ever meet in life. He would tell you your left. He would say the left's your death. The right punch everybody expected, but the left is what surprised you and fucked you up. Is that where the title came from?
No, actually, it came from my favorite boxer, who was Paulie Malignaggi, who's since retired, and he had all his offense was basically a left jab because he had a bad right hand that he broke many times coming up, and he's from New York, and he won multiple titles and stuff like that. And I went to see him a bunch of times, met him a couple times, and his corner man I'm friends with. So it really came from that. And even though I don't do exclusively boxing anymore, I really thought about it, and I was like, should I change the name? And I was like, nah, I got to stick with it. That's where it came from.
I love
Team Left
that.
Jab. You just expanded past it, but that's really where it came from, though.
Cool. And I want to ask you too, as far as being a boxing fan, I always felt boxing died once UFC hit the scene back in the 90s. Do you feel that way, or do you feel like there's still up and comers in boxing?
No, there's up and comers in boxing. It's always going to have a lot of great stars coming up, but it's nowhere near what it once was. It's a very corrupt sport, as far as decisions go, and there's a lot of weird stuff that happens in boxing that doesn't happen in UFC and stuff like that. So, while it's not a mainstream sport anymore, you could still enjoy it. But I mean, if you listen to any of the stuff that I do, I mean, I criticize it left and right. I mean, it's really just. I mean, the fans are horrible in boxing. They'll support fighters from overseas before they'll support some of the American boxers, which you really don't see in any other sport. But it is what it is. I mean, it's not the it's not the smartest fan base. We'll put it that way. So it's a good sport, though. It's a good sport.
I just remember, what was it? Monday Night USA back in the day. Was it Monday Night Fights or what was it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday night fights.
Oh yeah.
That was when. Yeah,
up and comers.
Tyson and all of them were coming up. It was a little more popular back then, though.
Yeah,
I think it's also has a lot to do with today's attention span, because a lot of boxing, when you watch boxing, it's a lot of just footing around each other before they actually throw punches or just slowly throwing out jabs.
Strategy,
yeah, there's an actual strategy, but UFC, you're just charging in on each other,
and that's a boxing glove with barbed wire, baby.
Which is what people want to see.
You're right, Slim, because it's definitely definitely something you have to really like the art of it, because it could be very boring at times.
Yes.
And UFC is a little more action, but you know, at the same time, like UFC, you know, when they get on the ground and they're, you know, ground and pound for like 11 minutes of fight, that could be kind of boring too. So, I mean, you really have to really enjoy the characters, I guess, and the sport. Yeah. It's definitely not for everybody, and that's why it's not as popular as it once was. But I guess people say that about baseball too at times.
Yeah. Just gonna say. That's what I tell people about baseball. I tell people that about baseball, and just going back to just like what you just mentioned, like Muhammad Ali, just the best smack talk in the game. But the fights weren't, you know, he'd be, you know, rope and dope. He'd be doing that for most of the fight. Yeah, no, it wasn't the most exciting fight, but his smack talk was the most exciting thing ever.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you enjoy the characters, you'll still enjoy boxing. Like I said, it could be boring at times. It could be fun at times too. I mean, it depends on the matchups, and you know, and that's when the corruption kind of creeps in, where you know, a guy looks like he clearly won the fight, but then the other guy gets the decision, and that's what turns a lot of people off, because you really don't see that in UFC or really any other sport, to be honest. I mean, it's definitely something that's hindered it, but I don't know. I still love it. I mean, I kind of fade in and out of it, you know, depending on who's around. Like Floyd Mayweather was one of my favorites, but he's retired now, and the guy Paulie that I mentioned, he's retired now. But there'll be other guys that come along that'll pique my interest and stuff. But I just couldn't talk about it, you know, day after day anymore. So I definitely was happy to move on to other stuff and do a little boxing here and there.
Yeah. I was going to ask Sam if you've seen the Slim versus SLambo boxing match.
I watched it. I did my homework on it, and I have some points if I could give you guys a few points of what I saw in that.
Go for it. I'm ready to learn, Sam.
That's the first time I've ever boxed in my life, by the way.
All right. First of all, Slim, you have a good left hand. That left hand was lethal. I mean, that was coming from all angles.
I'm left-handed.
SLambo, he's not flushed.
Right.
So that was good right there. Good defense early on. Now, SLambo, he comes forward well. He had a lot of power behind those punches. I mean, he didn't land at first, but he did hurt you a little bit towards the end. So it was a good fight. And Rob, I got to say, you stole the show, even though those two guys were killing each other, because the commentary, it was 10 times better than all the commentary I see in these real boxing matches. You were into it. You weren't falling asleep at the mic like you see on regular boxing. So it was awesome.
Cool. I could get a side gig. That's what I want. I love it. Thank you, Sam.
I definitely think it definitely warrants either a rematch, and you could even get a little fancy here and maybe do MMA fight between Slim and SLambo, or maybe even wrestling.
We were talking wrestling earlier,
we were talking wrestling. I'm trying to get Sam, and they bill themselves as midget wrestling. It's called the Knee High Knucklers. They're out of Atlantic City, and then I want to get them on the show.
Oh, I would love that. That would be fun. Now you can't say midget on your show, right? We don't have to say the M word.
Oh yeah, no, we can say midget. Yeah, we can say midget.
All right. Yeah, it was a funny video though. I did enjoy it though. Awesome.
Cool, thank you, dude. And I want us too, Sam. On Left Jab, on Team Left Jab, the network. What other shows are out there?
Well, like I said, we got You Guys Now, which is definitely the best comedy show out there.
Thank you.
We got the Unsupervised podcast. They're going to be joining us. That's like kind of like a talk show / comedy. I like those guys as well. There's a lot of, look, I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of comedy podcasts out there. They're listed as comedy, but they're not funny.
Dude,
they're just not really that good.
I agree.
Really, You Guys and the Unsupervised podcast, I really like. Really don't like much of the others. We have a lot of sports ones, obviously, because that's what it started at. We got guys like Percy Crawford, Tommy Ranone, Steve Upshaw. They do a lot of the boxing talk with me. They've been coming on since like 2014. Peter Ferrazzo as well. These are all guys who've been in boxing, so they do a great job. We have a Yankees show with Mike Scudero. He does a great show with Yankees. Good guy. Matt O'Leary does the Mets. We have Men's Locker Room. That's just an overall sports show. Cool. Corrigan's Corner, where John Corrigan does the wrestling. That's an awesome show. He's been with us for years. Low Life Louis Ramos, he's a wrestler, a good friend of mine that comes on, and we talk a little bit of wrestling. And then I do interviews here and there, which I've kind of scaled back because I really wanted to, have different shows and stuff like that. But every once in a while, I'll have someone on whether it be from boxing or wrestling or even comedy here and there. And, you know, I'll kind of revisit what I started doing, which was doing interviews, which I still like to do here and there. But it's a good network. I mean, it's been around a while. You know, it's very diverse now. So, and it's cool. I mean, we got hot girls on the website. I mean, how can you go wrong with that, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, you can't go wrong with hot girls. That's sex sells. Sex sells, Sam. I want to ask you too. Just as far as you mentioned, Imus and Stern. As far as sports goes, and maybe I'm just mainstream, but I used to love Mike and the Mad Dog and the sports guys. The sports guys, but they would switch hosts too much.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like when I thought about like bringing comedy on, because it was all sports, and I know people were going to be looking at it like, including maybe yourself when you first saw it, when I messaged you and stuff like that. You know, you're probably like, oh, it's all sports though. But if you think about it, you know, Imus was doing it was basically WFAN was Imus in the morning, which is comedy, and then after that it was all sports.
Yes.
I mean, God, you know, that audience is basically the same. You know, people who like sports and stuff like comedy, and vice versa.
Yes.
You know, so I mean, it's smart if you think about it. I mean, it's really the same audience, and yeah, the sports guys. Was that with what's his name that went to jail, New Jersey?
Oh, Craig killed.
Craig Carton.
Yes, Craig Carton.
Yeah, because he was over here in New York with Boomer for many years. I watched him, but I know he started over there on that show.
Yes. I forgot that he went to jail.
Just the guy we just interviewed, Brent. Who's like a comedian, and I asked him like, well, who's your like dream interviews? And he named sport guys. He was like Peyton Manning, like the Bronx, like those guys.
That was
like
great.
That was cool. Yeah. Like there is that kind of like intersection between like comedy and like sports.
I feel like too, like I've heard Charles Barkley say in the past, like athletes are on a different level. I feel that way about comedy too, and everybody's gone after both sides.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's definitely an audience that likes both, and you know, I was just thinking, you brought up dream interviews and stuff like that, and someone actually asked me that a couple of months ago, and I told him my dream interview would have been Don Imus, and he's gone now, so obviously that wasn't going to happen anyway. But you know, rest in peace, Imus. But yeah, that would have been mine, because you know what, you think back, and I was listening to him like when I was 12, 13 years old. It's like, how many people do you still kind of admire 40 years later or 30 years later or whatever.
Dude, he made an off-color joke, but it was all in fun. It was not in hate speech, and just the amount of good he did. Just the amount of money he raised for great causes, like just on his own. Like he was a great guy.
See, the problem I had with that was, yes, it was off-color, but it was nothing different than what he was doing for like 25 years before that. It was nothing that was different that Howard Stern was doing. In fact, you know, Howard Stern did a lot worse. And
he did worse, and Opie Anthony did worse. Like it just goes up to that point. I just always we've had people over the years like mention were Stern ripoffs or were Opie and Anthony ripoffs. I feel like if I'm the next ripoff, that's a fucking great thing, because everybody told Opie and Anthony they were Stern ripoffs. So like if I'm the next ripoff, like I will gladly embrace that. I will fucking.
That's a very high compliment.
Yeah, I'll fucking love that. I'll fucking ride that till I die. Like that's great.
I mean, you know, everybody always has a comment like that, because you know, if you see anybody doing anything that's even remotely similar, I mean, they feel like it's a ripoff. No, it's just comedy. You know,
they said that about Stern, about Imus mentioning, and I just remember even when oh my God, who's Dice? Andrew Dice Clay. When Dice started doing Opie and Anthony after doing Stern previously, he said, "There's a big enough audience for both of you guys. Like that's it. Yeah. Like that's it. That's definitely true.
It's absolutely true." And see, and that's the thing. It's like, it's kind of sad though when you think about it, that like that kind of talk radio or comedy radio, whatever you want to say, is really not around anymore, mainstream or anything like that, on the radio or anything like that. Everybody's so afraid to say, you know, something. And I understand it, because, you know, I guess if you're running off sponsors and stuff, they're going to be so quick to leave, and then there goes your show.
Yeah.
And God knows if you're going to get hired again. But it's just a fucked up world right now. I mean, it's like everybody is just terrified to say anything, to insult anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not like it used to be, but
Also, as a podcast, I think it's hard to market like what we do or what like old school talk radio is, because like a lot of times, like when people look for a podcast, they're looking for something niche. They're looking for like, oh, I want to find a movie podcast or a video game podcast or a comedy podcast, but like I want to find a podcast that's like old school radio. Like how do you look for that?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that, they want everything that could be cataloged easily and found easily, and a variety show, that basically covers a lot of things. I guess they feel like it's too hard to market or whatever. It was never hard to market until podcasts came along.
That's what it is. Yeah,
it was actually that's what people wanted. If you think about it, the show that you guys do, is so much harder, and it's so much harder to do. And like a podcast that just talks about baseball, or like what I was doing early on, which was just boxing, because it's so repetitive. It's doing the same show over and over, just changing the names or changing a few things here and there.
Yeah.
They come up with all kinds of skits and songs and stuff like you guys do. I mean, that's a lot of time, a lot of work, and it takes talent to do it, because you could fuck that up easily, and you don't. So and they don't realize that.
Sam. I've said over the years, it's like, dude, it's like a second full-time job. I've had people tell me, I know even other comedians tell me, like, it comes off like it's effortless, but they know how much effort I put into it, because they understand. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Just trying to get guests on and stuff like that. It's not something that happens 1, 2, 3. You got to go messaging back and forth and then figuring out times and stuff. It's very time consuming.
That, and even like when it comes down to even confirming, sometimes they never get back, or I have to just reschedule. Like, it's like, I got to fill a spot. Out of nowhere.
I got to fit this in before I go, though, because when I first found you guys, I was listening to some previous shows, and there was a guy that was supposed to come on that didn't. I guess he blocked you.
That guy, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And when I heard you guys just tearing them apart, I was like, "Yep, these are my guys. I gotta get these guys on the network." Radio right there. You guys are killing them.
At least tell me.
He mowed lawns or something. Who's he?
I don't even remember.
He was like the hustler.
Oh, the hustler.
The hustling guys. Yeah, no. Fucking tell me. Like, at least have the balls to tell me. Like,
just blocked you.
Yeah, no, he just blocked me.
That's pussy, right? He must have like listened to some shows and figured that he wasn't going to be able to do the interview. He didn't have wasn't quick enough, maybe, or something like that. I don't know. Something scared him away right there. Dude. He was politically correct. He didn't want to. No. One
of my friends at work said, like, that's all on him. Whatever, like, because I told him like what happened, and he's like, yeah, no, that's all on him. None of that's your problem.
Yeah, that was pretty weak right there. But I don't know. People are weird. People are strange. Hey, look, the guy that I did the comedy show before, last year, he just kind of delved out on me as well. I mean, sometimes people who do these, like, and I heard you guys talking about this earlier. People don't realize how hard it is to do a podcast. Even someone who's doing it a long time. I mean, you can almost see like when they're almost ready to go. I mean, they just don't do the show anymore. They cancel it left and right, and they just kind of mail it in, and the shows get shorter and stuff like that. That's kind of where he was at. So I guess it's not for everybody.
We used to do an hour more, so like I guess us shortening is like them just dying.
We shortened it out. It's so crazy. We're still like 3 hour, 3.5 hour long, but like, to just think that we used to do like 4.5.
No, you guys still do a long show though. You guys are definitely putting the work in now.
Yeah,
and it is hard. And like the thing is like Rob does most of the like Rob does more of the work than I do as far as like the booking and the coming up with the skits and all that. That's all Rob. But like still for me, just doing the edit, setting up, and just like a whole day is committed to this. Like a whole day, it's a lot. Just committing that whole day to this.
And like, over the years, I've heard people like mention having somebody that does what you do, like shit out on them, and like it's just somebody to do that alone is just an asset.
But you got to pay those people, so you got
Sam.
Oh, he started talking about money and just crapped out.
Oh, Sam! I don't gotta pay Slim then, right? Sam!
Sam, you still there?
Thank you, Sam. I don't gotta pay Slim.
Oh, there he is.
Oh man.
We lost
Would
you
you
for a
really
second.
would you really trust someone from the outside to like edit your stuff?
I
I mean,
don't
you
think
gotta
so.
know them,
No.
right? I mean, they could be like they could just like erase everything on you if they
Yeah.
really wanted, if they got mad at you or something.
Well, that's why I think it's good that like as being kind of like the producer of the show, I'm also like I'm a title character of the show.
Yeah, that's the only reason his name's on the show.
Oh yeah, definitely, man.
It is my show as much as it is Rob's show, so it's not just like I'm producing a show for two other guys. Like I'm producing our show, you know. So
And sometimes
You gotta-
Slambo.
and sometimes
And
Slambo's
the
show.
thing, you guys have great chemistry, and you know to do a show every week, as long as you guys do it, you have to have fun and you have to enjoy doing it because like if you're just sticking three random people together, that's not going to work too long.
And you gotta have a lot of alcohol, Sam.
A lot
of booze.
A lot of issues.
That's true.
Sam, we have to wrap this up, dude, but it's been a fucking blast, bro.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to thank you guys for coming on my network. I'm very proud to have you guys on. You guys do an awesome job.
Thank you.
And you know, I just look forward to a lot of fun stuff in the future. You know, just guys are killing it.
You too, brother. Where can everybody find you?
If you just Google Team Left Jab, it'll all come up. If you just Facebook and Twitter, you just put Team Left Jab on, it'll all come up. It's basically don't do Instagram. I did Instagram for a little while, but it's just basically pictures and stuff. So I just kind of got off there. But
I
if
don't
you
mind
put
the
in Team Left
Instagram.
Jab goes right on.
I don't mind the Instagram. I didn't do the what's the other thing? The Snapchat.
The Snapchat or the
Or the
TikTok.
TikTok. Like,
Yeah,
fuck
that's for
TikTok.
kids. That's not for podcasts, really.
Yeah. Fuck you, kids. We're not for kids.
Is there adult social media like showmeyourdick.com or something?
Actually,
like
going back to that, Ryder, there's a social media thing. I don't know if it's an app, but whatever for sex workers and all that. So yeah, there's one out.
Cool. We gotta get to that. It just shows Slambo's dick every week. Every week.
Or his butthole.
Picture. You get a sexual picture of Slambo. Maybe he's rubbing his.
You can make a ton of money for that.
Rubbing a stick of butter on his.
He's doing something sexual each week.
He's sticking a carrot and stuff.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Thank you, Sam. That's the best sign out we've ever had.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. It was awesome talking to you. Look forward to being on again. Thank you.
Thank you,
No
Sam.
problem, dude. Thank you, my friend.
All right. Okay. Talk to you later.
All right, brother.